Hi there, it's Emma here, and I'd like to welcome you to KCC's Thought for the Day. This week I've been reading about something that King David did in the Bible. If you're new to the Bible, I want to take a minute to tell you about him. David was an amazing man who loved God. He was a shepherd who played the harp skillfully. He killed Goliath. He was made armour bearer to King Saul and was anointed king. He had a love and a passion for God that outworked itself like a superpower. He also really badly messed up, but he was repentant. He was a leader in battle, a passionate worshipper, and God even said about him that he was a man after his own heart. Wow, that's amazing. He was humble, he was loving and devoted to God. If you spend any time reading the Psalms, you will walk through the expressions of his deepest struggles and his highest moments of victory in God. As a king, he had people around him, an entourage, better known as David's mighty men in the Bible, and it's here that I want to pause and tell you about what happened. So David was in a cave near an enemy army encampment. It was near Bethlehem, and he mentioned that he would love for someone to go and bring him a drink of water from the well in Bethlehem by the gate. It would be like longing for a taste of water from home. So it says in the Bible that some of his mighty men broke through the camp of the enemy and went to the well and drew water and took it to David. Picture it with me. The men walking up to David, thrilled at the way that they're going to delight him with the gift that they're going to give him. They risked their lives for this water, creeping through the enemy camp. That sentry nearly spotted them as they hid, and they all had to freeze as he walked past, but they made it. And now was the moment when they would show David just how much he meant to them. He would see their love in the trouble and danger that they'd gone through to satisfy his desire for a drink of water. They would bring him joy, and as he tasted the refreshing water that they'd brought for him. One of the men walks up to David and with great anticipation gives him the water. And what does David do? He takes the vessel and he pours out its contents, not drinking a drop. What? So these men who risk their lives to love and serve King David give him this gift and he pours it away, not even drinking it. When you stop and you think about this, it seems like the power has gone to David's head. Wasn't the water chilled enough for you, David? Surely, David, you have just dishonoured and undervalued this gift that you've been given. At first glance, you may well take that stance and judge David a harsh and ungrateful king, but in fact, it is his honour and value of the men and his love for God that made him pour out the water. He poured it out as an offering to the Lord, saying, "Far be it from me before my God that I should do this. Shall I drink the lifeblood of these men? For at the risk of their lives they brought it." David had such high value for the men. He chose to honour them by pouring it out as an offering to God. He could have allowed the men to put him on a pedestal in that moment. If he'd have drunk the water, they could have stood back and taken pride in providing it for the king. He might have been tempted to mention so many other things that he wanted, knowing that they wanted to please him, and he'd be abusing his power as a leader. But he didn't. He took their gift and he pointed them to God. He chose to honour them before God by using their gift to worship him. In her book, Leading as Sons and Daughters, Wendy Mann says this: "Honour means to recognise a person's true value and worth and to treat them accordingly. It isn't about what they do, good or bad. It's about the worth they carry because they're created in the image of God." Here at KCC, one of our culture traits is honour, and I love that we have this set of cultures that we want to grow in. In this season, as we're scattered because of COVID restrictions, we can still be walking in the cultures and impacting the world around us. Remember the culture traits: courage, integrity, generosity, acceptance, forgiveness, and honour. This small recount of something David's mighty men did and his response really grabbed my attention this week. David pointed the men to God. He showed them that to honour God by worshipping him was good. He showed them that honouring and valuing them over and above the gift that they brought him was good. In this modern, self-reliant world, where possessions and success are valued, but there are times when people are judged, dishonoured and shamed, especially when they mess up. Our world needs this message of a kind of honour that doesn't depend on success or works. It has real impact when people experience it. Increasingly, during the pandemic, we can bring such encouragement by honouring those we come into contact with. The nation honoured the NHS and key workers, rightfully so, for 10 weeks all those months ago, as they clapped for carers, and it brought a unity and a connection. But we can go further. We have a unique opportunity to speak value into people's lives, because we can learn to see the people we come into contact with through God's eyes. The thing I love most of all about the culture of honour is that it doesn't depend on performance. My value in God remains unchanged whether I do a great job or a terrible one, whether I feel like I can do something or not, whether I do anything or I don't. My value remains. I'm his child, and nothing changes that. This truth helps me know my value as a child of God. As I let that truth permeate, my eyes are opened and I see it about other people. David saw his mighty men as valuable. He honoured God in that moment by worshipping him. I believe as he did, his men would have been really impacted by what they saw him do. They saw him lay down his desire for the taste of that water, and as he worshipped, giving the gift that they had given to him, to God, they saw him lean into God, for his thirst to be satisfied by a water that never runs dry. Before God, he didn't want to devalue their worth by drinking the water that they had risked their lives for. As he identified their value, it would have helped them to identify their value too. KCC, let's be a people who speak value into our society, who live our culture out and bring the kingdom wherever we go, speaking life, valuing people and demonstrating honour wherever we go. Let's be the ones that say, thank you for all you do, but let's go further and let's say, thank you for who you are.